All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the podcast Thinking with me, Malikmayweather. And if it's your first time with us, thank you, and get ready to lock in for some of the most relatable and useful personal development advice on the planet. In this episode, we're going to talk about discipline, but I know it's the first episode of me finally not dragging my feet and getting this podcast done. So I'm going to give you a little bit about me as well before we really get started and dive into the meat and potatoes. But I think that it's really fitting to start this now in 2025 when everyone has their New Year's resolutions, their fitness goals, their career goals, all the things that they're trying to do. And from a personal development standpoint, I think it's the best time to tap in. And like I said, stop dragging my feet on putting this podcast out because I know from real conversations and offline conversations how helpful it can be when we have these conversations about personal development, where you want to go in life, etc. So let's get into it. And by the end of the episode, I hope that you have something that you can walk away with that is useful to your life. But before we start, like I said, I do want to tell you a little bit about me. And even before that, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Key Leads Media. And yeah, I mean, without them, this type of content wouldn't go out. It takes a team, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, the content is the child of our thoughts that we put out there, and it takes a village and a team to really put that out and also understand what it takes to make good content, right? Content that's within yourself, but also still useful to your audience in some way. So shout out to Key Leads Media. Now, about me, my background is, let's just take it all the way back. And I think it's even more fitting to be here where a lot of this personal development growth started, here in my dad's kitchen, sitting here recording, going through plans and a lot of different things back in 2018 when I first got out of school. So my background, University of Miami, football, I played there 2013 through 17. I also went to East Mississippi, played football at Last Chance U. I hated East Mississippi. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to even act like I loved it. I wonder if it's a check out there I can get. They're giving out NIL checks and stuff for NCAA eligibility and stuff. And yeah, I was on Netflix with that show. I mean, I signed a release, but am I entitled to compensation? Who knows? But yeah, football background, University of Miami education, as far as undergrad and grad school. Went back there and got my master's in health administration. I worked in corporate healthcare for a year at an executive residency program down in Florida. Had some things go on with, just family members being ill and stuff of that nature. So I decided to jump out of that, and thus the personal development of who I am to this day has been altered significantly in the way that I never could have anticipated. So going from playing football, thinking you would make it to the NFL, to then going into healthcare saying, okay, well, this is what I was going to do if I didn't make it, to then saying, dang, I need more flexibility to be there for family and friends and stuff like that while these things are going on. That shifted me into real estate a lot earlier than I thought I would, because now I'm a licensed realtor and that's my main thing. That's my full time. And then also into media and production, in conjunction with Key Leads Media, but also freelancing on my own outside of company things, right? So a lot of different progression that has definitely developed me to be probably too well-rounded. I don't even know if that's a thing, but I do think that you can kind of get overloaded with information and skills to the point where you never really take action in some kind of way, or you don't take action long enough to see the real fruits of your labor. Like, I've been somewhat successful in every venture, but to get to the $500,000, the $1 million a year clubs, then 2 million, 3 million, which is, I'm aiming for, $20 million years and stuff like that. Like, those are the type of numbers that I want to do in my career. But you have to give out extreme value to do that. And you have to personally develop and become something totally different than, who you probably were before you became the $20 million man or woman. So that's my background. Why this pod? Because I think that who I was 6 going on 7 years ago, in here turning 24 years old, to now being 30, engaged, looking at life from a totally different perspective is a world away from just everyday life, what I was doing, being a personal trainer back then and starting Unconquered Fitness in conjunction with my best friend Marcus LaFleur, to now, like I said, licensed realtor and media guy, marketing producer. I couldn't have imagined it, like I said. So, this pod is kind of an ode to, I guess, the creator, to God, for allowing me to go through things and come out on the other side smarter. And also to help someone who is like me, that trying to figure out where they're going. Maybe they're 23, 24, 25, grad school, finishing school, or, did some warehouse jobs and stuff like that. Because I had a job at an event company here in Memphis at one point, holidays, flowers, and events. And that's when I knew I didn't want to work for anybody else. Not because they were terrible, but just because manual labor outside of sports for me is just like not it. Like you get slaved for pennies. And it's like, of those wages, you can barely afford food. So I want to help someone get out of where they are and get to kind of where they want to be, and develop themselves through actionable steps and concepts that will allow them to look at things differently, will allow them to make better choices and decisions. So the last thing I want to talk about before we jump into everything is the creative walk, right? Like you have a walk with God, you have a walk with your faith. These are things that we have, but the creative walk is kind of like the God in you, right? Like the power that God put in you to create, whether that be create more humans, like, right, having sex and having babies, or whether that be to create an idea, bring it to fruition, or take old parts of a car if you're mechanically inclined and create a car that's functioning, right? Old parts of something that's not running and turn it into something that is running, right? Every one of us has the ability to create and develop ourselves. And if we don't exercise that, just like any muscle, right? Because creativity is the imagination. So it's the muscle of your brain, right? Your brain's a muscle. So it's the imagination muscle. If you don't flex that, you start to lose it. And in my creative walk, I'm in a space now where I've really finally, and I said this so many times until now, but you kind of know when you know, right? Like I know Nia is the love of my life. I want to be with her for the rest of my life. Like I just knew that. It's kind of like I know that I finally figured it out for my creative walk in terms of separating being a realtor and having that page, and then also any business ventures I'm involved in between Unconquered Fitness, Keeley's Media, or whatever, right? Separating that and letting those be logos, and then just letting Malik exist here. Let Malik develop here. Let Malik just be Malik here, and whatever value that is for anyone who consumes my content, podcasts, videos, talks, whatever that value proposition is going to be so genuine and so from within that I don't even have to think twice about it, right? I'll pay attention to what's being reacted to because we always want to create things that make sense for our audience. But it's coming from a place of, I know this because I am this. I've gone through this. I've done this. I've had conversations and gone thought after thought after thought. The same way I had to learn business and healthcare and media and fitness and all these different things that I had to learn to develop myself into this, like I said, almost too well-rounded person, is the same way that I'm going to be spitting from my thoughts that I break down. Like I write a lot and I develop thoughts in a framework that allows me to give you useful information that you can take and better your life and develop yourself. So that's where I'm at in my creative walk. Like to be quite frank with you, I don't give a damn what anybody thinks. Because if you don't want to see this page, if you want me to help you get a house, again, that's the full-time job. That's what I do. So just go over there or, reach out to me, however you reach out to me, and we can do that. But this page and this podcast and everything, connected to it is going to be about personal development and hopefully make you and myself a better human, because you aren't what you do. You are who you are. And I just want to make sure that who you are is someone that you're comfortable with. The same way I'm working on doing that for myself. So that's where we are with the Creative Vault. That's my background. Like I said, extensive. Probably could have went into it a little bit deeper, playing football, healthcare. Credentials are there to really do anything I want to do. And it was just about picking. So let's jump into what you really have to do to make yourself better, which is be disciplined. And like I said, I write a lot, so I want to go into this episode talking about why people quit just before the breakthrough. And then in addition to that, we're going to talk about not wanting to and I don't feel like it aren't always acceptable reasons not to do what you need to do. Sometimes they are, right? Like sometimes it's your prerogative. You don't really have to do something that you don't want to do. But a lot of times we're foregoing things that we need to do to get where we want to be. And then we look back and we either regret it or we want to play the blame game about why everything else didn't happen how it was supposed to happen because of circumstances when you had the power to change that. So being disciplined is about, attacking these two things in my head out of all the things that I was looking through in terms of adding to this first episode. And I want to talk about it because I really think it can help some people. So why do people quit just before their breakthrough? Why do people quit just before their breakthrough? And the first thing I want to say is that the topic or the point of this part within the whole topic of discipline is that patience gets you paid, right? Patience gets you paid. If you can be disciplined enough to keep doing the right things, you get paid. We call the people that are the GOATs in every sport, in every industry, whoever is the big company that's been around the longest, that's made the most money, are the most consistent because they're patient in their processes, they're patient in their learning, they're patient in understanding that if I can do this over and 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 over, I can get paid. Right. And it's not always paid monetarily, but like if I can work out over and over and over and over and over and over, I can get muscles. If I can stretch over and over and over and over, I can get flexible. So the same thing applies to your health. So patience gets you paid for sure. And this is why a lot of people don't reach their goals, why they don't reach their monetary goals, relationship goals, why they fail to achieve their goals is because they lack the patience needed to do something that's not considered urgent, right? If it's not urgent to you, you don't want to do it. And now you end up in a situation, again, like I said, blaming other people or circumstances. So willing to expend 3 times as much as your resources for something you could have, like going to, let me explain that a little bit differently. If I want to buy something, right, and it's cheaper on Amazon, but all I have to do is wait for 2 days to get it because it's Amazon Prime, so 1 or 2 days. Or I could go pick it up from the store, but it costs double or triple what it would cost if I could just, wait for it. So I'm willing to go spend 2 or 3 more times as much money or time or whatever to get something immediately, when if I get it in 2 days, I could have saved myself that. But because I'm impatient, I don't do it. And now, again, you've lost more than you could have gained. And it doesn't make any sense, right? So we undervalue patience a lot of times because the immediate thing in our mind is that we want what we want and we're going to go after it because who can tell us not to? And which, again, is fine. But at some point, mathematically, it runs out. You can't sprint forever. You can walk way longer than you can sprint. You can walk 10 miles, but you can't sprint 10 miles straight at the same pace. It's not going to happen. And when you do finish the 10 miles after that sprint, if you make it, you're probably going to need to go to the hospital. So be consistent, be patient, and keep going through the process of doing the things that you need to do to get where you want to be. So what is the real big problem? in terms of people being on the verge of breakthrough. So I've seen people on the verge of breakthrough quit while their counterparts are stuck with, whatever is left for what they're quitting, right? So it's like quitting on your teammates and not doing what you need to do in a game or at your job. And now the whole project or the whole game crumbles because, you were at the moment of a breakthrough, but you couldn't push through, right? It's kind of like not touching the line in sports. Like if you don't touch the line, we all got to run more. And now you're hurting everybody. So you're quitting before your breakthrough just because, why? And then, or you leave totally and then everything happens and you want to kind of run back. You want to spin the block. It's like, you can't spin the block now. Like you quit. Don't quit and then spin the block when it's all good. You got to stay down for the come up. Be consistent, right? So many times I think it's that just the problem is people can't zoom out enough to see the actual time that it takes to achieve greatness. They don't see the hours and hours of time that people put in to reach goals. They don't see the practice. They think it's easier than it is because it looks good, but it doesn't always feel good. And that's the misconception that I think people roll into writing down their goals or setting their goals from. I think you're looking at Instagram, you're looking at other people's success, and you're saying, oh, I want to do that. But then you're not saying, oh, I want to get up early in the morning to try to go chase that. I want to make this many phone calls to try to find the one that's going to work. I want to do all of this exercise so that I can run this fast or lift this much. You're not willing to do the things that are needed for you to get where you want to go. And then you're struggling because you had this misconception that it was easy because all you're looking at is other people's highlights instead of really digging deep and doing the research that you need to do to figure out what it really takes. And then either committing to that or not. And when you commit to it, you commit to it. You don't just half commit to it and then just say, all right, I'm through. Like you commit to it, right? I have this thing about me where it's like I remember being younger and having to change baseball teams. And granted, this probably was like my third year of baseball, but and I was so terrible when I first started that nobody would even throw with me. It was bad. Like I started at 11 while everybody else played since they were like 5 or 6 years old. And then, the story of dedication there or not quitting there to my breakthrough is that by the time I was in 8th grade, I was playing JV while some of those kids were struggling to get through travel ball or anything like that. And then when I got into high school by 10th grade, I was all region as a 10th grader, right? So playing varsity, starting center field, all things that aren't really common at the school that I went to. So I didn't quit. Even at 11, it's like, all right, well, by the time I'm 16, I'm better than a lot of these guys, right? Minus, one of the injuries that kind of threw me off. But another story, didn't quit, stayed down for the come up. So no misconceptions there. And I kind of lost my place. I'm not going to lie, guys. But it is a misconception where people set these goals and they don't really understand what it takes to get it. So, objections that people have, right? Why aren't you going to fix this? Well, I've done all I can, right? And you really have to be honest about that statement. Have you actually done all you can? Or are you just saying that because you're frustrated or you're worn out and you need some rest and you need to reevaluate how to approach the thing that you're trying to achieve? If you've really done all you can, cool. If you haven't, then you got to reevaluate it and say, all right, am I really committed to this? And if you aren't committed to it or you find yourself saying I'm not committed to so many different things that you started to commit to, ask yourself why you keep putting these goals or making these commitments that you don't want to stick to. Like what is the flaw in your analysis, I guess, or how you're looking at things or your environment that has you tempted to do these things? Like what are you feeding your mind that has you not looking at things fully? And again, depending on how young you are in consuming this, I understand like, hey, you just got to go through some shit to figure it out. But some people ain't that young. Some people really just, need to figure out why they are making flawed decisions when it comes to the time commitment or energy commitment or whatever commitment it is they're making to something. So, done all you can, really, have you? This is just too much. I'm not about to do all that, right? And this is a lot this comes up a lot in fitness, and also comes up a lot with new business owners, particularly in the creative space. I'm lucky that I got to experience business in the fitness space and then in the corporate world before I ever jumped into creative business. So when I hear this is just too much, I'm not about to do all that, I think about fitness and how the concept of progressive overload is how you get stronger. When you progressively overload your muscles, that means, hey, I have this rep range at this weight for this workout. And depending on how many reps I get, I'm either going up next workout or I'm staying the same, right? And if it's really terrible, then I might go down. But I have to progressively overload and never get too comfortable for my muscles to grow. So for myself to grow, personally, as a person, I have to do the same thing. I have to progressively overload, not too much, but just enough for you to succeed and accomplish what you need to accomplish until you get better and better and better until you're an expert. And then it becomes about maintenance and not injuring yourself. So in sports, that's, again, not injuring yourself and maintenance and maintaining muscle mass, weight, stamina, etc. In business, it's about, can I iron out branding and what specifically we do and how we deliver it. In your relationship, it's, can I get better as a communicator, or can I be more affectionate, or can I be more stern with my boundaries so that we all have a healthy dialogue about what we need, right? And that's not just intimate relationships, that's friendships, right? So when I hear it's too much, I'm not doing all of that. All I hear is that you don't want to grow. That's all I hear. You don't want to grow. But you have to progressively add things to yourself so that you can grow, right? Progressively add commitment, progressively add weight, progressively add communication, whatever it might be. And then the final objection is, if it's meant to be, it will be. No, if it's meant to be, you will make it be. You're not God. Again, you are not God. If it's meant to be, you will make it be. And then whatever you can't make be, he will make be. Like, that's just straight up what it is. So worry about what it is you want to be or want to come to fruition, and then you go make that happen. And then favor fortune's the brave, or fortune favors the brave, right? That's how I go. Fortune favors the brave. If you aren't out here moving and committing and doing what you need to do, it won't be. It will not be. Only action creates change. And that's something we learned as I was doing my nutrition coaching certification. If you don't take action, nothing will change. If you don't walk, you don't move forward. You stay in the same spot if you don't move, unless something moves you or the ground is moving beneath you. And I don't know about you, but if the ground starts moving beneath me, that's an earthquake. And that means I'm in danger. Something might fall on me. So I'm just going to keep on moving forward, right? I'm going to keep on moving forward, and I think you should too. So all those objections, torn down. Like, it's no way that you believe any of these objections. I've done all I can. This is too much. I'm not doing all that. If it's meant to be, it will be. So once you get past those objections, the benefit is you learn how to set things and forget things and just kind of get immersed in the process. You learn how to plant good seeds and reap the harvest later, right? Delayed gratification. You learn you don't become stagnant when you could be doing something that is going to complement the thing that you're waiting on, right? So it's kind of like getting ready for your blessing. Instead of sitting around and worrying about the beans growing in the farm, in the field, how about you start going to plant carrots? How about you start going to plant greens? How about you go, milk a cow, right? I'm not a farmer. This is just an analogy. But how about you go do something else? Like I always say, don't watch the oven heat up. If you're going to watch the oven heat up, you're going to torture yourself. Don't watch it heat up. Go do something else. And eventually the oven will ding and it'll be time to put the food in, right? So while the oven's heating up, go season the food. Prepare it so it tastes even better, right? Follow a recipe. Chop the vegetables, right? Whatever it is you got to do to keep your mind off the thing that you want while continuously working towards that thing, right? The little things, the process, the details. If you can get immersed in that, things will happen far faster than you think in terms of how you perceive it, because it's going to take the amount of time that it takes anyway, right? It just takes this much time to cook a chicken or some fish or whatever. Like, the time it takes is what it takes at whatever temperature. So based on your environment and what you got going on in your life, the time it takes is the time it takes. So you got to stick with it. And then you give yourself more room for success to happen to you. All right. After you get past these objections, you now have said, okay, well, I know at some point this is going to happen and I'm going to stay in the process. And as I stay in the process, other things start to happen that complement whatever it is I'm doing. Maybe I meet the right people that speed up my timeline to that success because my energy's good and I'm not sitting around worried about, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Has it happened yet? Are we there yet? I meet the right people because I got the right energy and I'm in the right processes. All right. So once you get past those objections, you have really big benefits that are opened up to you for you to get to your goals and succeed. So from a personal standpoint, like personal experience, let me be clear. Patience without action gets you nothing but quiet observation. Maybe that's a bar. So I'll say it again. Let me be clear. Patience without action gets you nothing except quiet observation. A story I have about patience is one that had action behind it. I remember wanting to pull the trigger early on leaving the healthcare job, when I found out that my pops was sick. And I wanted to give out the resignation note. I was just tired. I was so stressed. I was going to work with my teeth grinding. I went to the dentist. They asked me, was I stressed? Because it looks like my teeth were grinding, like my jaws. I've been biting my jaws by accident. And he was like, that looks like meatloaf over there. So I'm good now. But at that point in time, 27 years old, driving to another rotation, not even my main hospital. And I'm like, lockjaw. Like, my jaws are just like lockjaw. And I'm like, damn. You know what I'm saying? I'm listening to this book, Why Am I So Tense? And again, I listened to 21 audiobooks during that time. So I had action, like I said. But I wanted to pull the trigger early. But I knew, based on just corporate culture, understanding leverage, all of these different things that you have to understand whenever you go into that environment. Because people are cool, but the machine is the machine. And everybody that's in the machine is still got to operate a certain way so that they don't get kicked out the machine and can't afford to live either. So I couldn't, act too fast because these were like chess moves that had to be made so I could afford to actually leave. Like, I had to stay long enough to be able to save the money so I could leave, so I could buy the camera, so I could pay for the real estate license tests, everything. Like, I had to do that. So had I not listened to one of my mentors that I love to death, I'm not going to mention her on here because I don't want anybody to be like, oh, she's complicit in him leaving. Because I really did, have a great role and did a good job. It just was family, right? I had to pick my family first. So like I said, I'm not going to mention that, but I don't no hard feelings over here. Maybe there's opportunity in the future. Who knows? But if I hadn't listened to her when she told me, nope, stick to your plan. You got a good plan. I had explained the plan to her and kind of what I was thinking, how I was going to go about it. And had I not listened to her, I might have left too early or, I remember one time having a conversation about it, not necessarily about leaving, but just kind of the circumstances with the COO. And I was around the time that I had to go to Nashville for something. And she was like, should you even go then? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, are you, because matter of fact, I think I gave her the resignation, told her I was leaving after. I think that was around the time. And I was like, yeah, I got to go. I got to finish what I started. Because I really did feel that way. But also understanding that, I needed to check. Like, I needed to be able to, survive and get to Memphis, get to DC, get to where I need to go to do the things I need to do for family. And had I not done those things, or had I not been smart and listened, who knows, right? Maybe I get let go instead of being able to resign. amicably, right, resigning on good terms, not on bad terms or nothing like that. But maybe I get maybe I get let go if I act too soon. So, that's me sticking to the plan, staying in the process, even though I felt like this is too much, right? One of those objections. This is too much. I don't feel like going through all this or doing all that. Or, if it's meant to be, it'll be, right? Or I've done all I can and I gotta slide. No. Stick with the plan, stay in the process, and everything will do what it needs to do. Right? Put it in God's hands. You came up with a plan, you prayed about it, it was cool. Keep rolling. So frameworks, right? And then we'll get into, because I know, let me look at the time. Okay, we're not that bad off, because the second topic isn't that long. So frameworks, all right. So 4 steps, let's talk about this framework first. So this framework, again, has to do with people quitting before they're on the verge of a breakthrough. And basically, again, the topic within that about discipline is patience. So here are the 4 steps to maintain your patience when stakes are high. The first one is map out a plan. How much will you need? Do I need other people? How much time do I have? How long will it likely take me? It's hard to be patient when you don't know where you're going or how to get there. The second step, set some milestones. You need to know how much progress you should have made each day, each week, each month. If you don't know that, then it's hard to compare it to where you need to be or say, hey, I need to up my action in this category or that category. The third step is find a trusted advisor or a mentor. Patience is an emotional journey because naturally, as humans, we want things now. This should be an individual that knows more about what you're trying to do and has no skin in the game when it comes to what you're doing or the game you're playing. So they can give you advice, and it can be sound advice because they only want to see you succeed. And I was lucky enough and blessed enough to have that. And then the last thing is just consume content on what you're trying to accomplish. Get coaching, subscribe to newsletters, read books, listen to podcasts, clips, articles, etc. You rather find out early if you need to readjust your goals and timelines than later. Sometimes you will get what you've been wanting faster than you thought you would. Right? So you need to be ready, because if you don't, you'll lose it. And then other times, you're not as near ready as you think you are, right? Nowhere near as ready as you think you are to do things. And that means you need to reevaluate or readjust timelines, goals, etc. So that's the framework. The framework to maintain your patience when the stakes are high, map out a plan, set some milestones, find a trusted advisor and mentor, and consume content on what you're trying to do, right? So that's the first part, right? People quitting before, they need to, when on the verge of a breakthrough. Don't do that. Please don't. And then the second part is, like I said, not wanting to and I don't feel like it aren't reasons that are always acceptable to not do what it is you say you want to do or need to do. And I actually thought I broke this one down. I haven't. So I'm going to wing this one. And it's still going to be good because, again, this more than anything is just where we talk about the difference in mentalities and mindsets. And I talked about this briefly today at the shoot I was at. The only way to change your mind is to quite literally change your mind, right? To change your environment, change what you give to your mind, change the foods you consume, because the mind is a muscle. So if you want to develop the mind like you would any other muscle, then you develop it by consuming the right foods and giving it the right rest, etc. Right? And I'm kind of a hypocrite on the rest thing because my mind doesn't stop going, but that's why I write so much. Because if I don't write, then my mind keeps going. But if I take the note down, I always know I can come back to it later. Or if I never come back to it, at least it's out of my head and I can keep going with my day and what I'm thinking about and trying to accomplish. Because this right here, you can't fight yourself. You can't fight your own brain. So you got to take care of it so it can take care of you. And like I said, that starts with purging it from things that aren't allowing you to stay in the right state of mind to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Right? And when you get to the point where it's like, I don't want to, or, I just don't feel like it, that's where the discipline comes in. Like I said, being in the process. Not wanting to work out wasn't a reason for me not to go to a workout when I played football or baseball or basketball, even though I stopped playing basketball going into the 9th grade, right? Not feeling like doing my homework in college wasn't a reason not to get the papers done or go to tutoring or do my research and study. I had a goal of graduating. I had a goal of trying to make it to the NFL. If I don't do what I need to do and stay disciplined and stay in the process and do what I have to do to try to give myself the best shot to get there, I wouldn't have even landed where I'm at now. I probably would be worse off. And you see so many people that are, right? Because they're not disciplined. And discipline is a funny thing in that, it's something that you learn early on or you don't. And it's a lot of times it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. And I tell people that all the time as well. And this plays into, not feeling like it or not wanting to. If you get in a car accident and somebody hits your car, it's not your fault. Insurance company is going to pay for everything, etc. You're still responsible for being at work on time. They might excuse you for that day, maybe two. Get your medical situation correct, check on yourself. But they want you at work. If you're a business owner like myself, realtor, etc., car gets messed up or something, I'm still responsible to be at this showing or that showing. I'm still responsible to make sure that documents are done. Obviously, a lot of stuff is virtual, so that's beneficial, but I'm still responsible. So not feeling like it or wanting to is the same as you're still responsible for. I don't feel like it, I don't want to, but I'm still responsible for. And that's where your character comes into question, right? What type of person are you going to be? Are you going to be the type of person that lets their emotions stop them from being great or handling their responsibilities, whether that be for your family, like your kids, your mom, your dad, whether that be for your own goals, meaning like me recording this podcast, because I have set up like this many times and not recorded. And it's been like, I'm tired. But it's like you got to trudge through. And that's, again, part of the reason why discipline is the first topic, because this for me is discipline. I'm trying to do this every week. Right. And I'll get better over time. I don't know if I'm good or bad. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But every week I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to go 51 for 52 because the first week in January, wasn't really a full week. So I really count this as week 1, but whatever. But 51, 52 weeks, I'm trying to do this. So it's discipline. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I just left a shoot. I got a flight in the morning. I've been cooking. I've been staying up a little bit later, just spending time with Pops. Like, I'm tired, but I'm disciplined. And so should you be, right? You should be too. Yeah. And I don't really have much more after that, guys. I don't really have much more after that other than the fact that, don't quit before your breakthrough and be disciplined even when you don't feel like it. Because you either pay now or you pay later, as Adam said today in another podcast. You pay now or you pay later. And I'd rather pay now because money later is going to be worth less than money now unless I invest now. And everything that you're paying for now, right, that time you spend in the gym, that money you invest in your Roth IRA or in your investments, the houses you buy to build equity in, the relationships you invest in to build right now, all of those things are investments, right? Things you don't want to do generally are investments and they require sacrifice. So you pay now or you pay later. And if you don't pay now, it's a very good chance that what you want later is going to cost a whole lot more. It's a lot easier to pivot now. It's a lot easier to grow things earlier. So the moment you become aware of these things, this discipline lack that you might have, the better off you are. So I hope that this podcast today, this first inaugural episode, right? I think it's like the 4th inaugural episode of the versions of this podcast I've started this thing 2-3 times, and I finally got it nailed down, and praise God for that. But whatever it is you need to unravel and whip yourself into shape by doing or saying, get on it. Because one thing about it, we don't know how much time we got down here. And life is a gift. It really is. I promise you it is. So develop yourself and live the best life that you can. And I hope you got some value today. Till next time, I'll see you. I'm Malik Mayweather. Y'all be good.